It was a sunny morning when Shennong, the emperor of agriculture, descended from the heavens. The golden sunlight bathed the land, making the flowers and medicinal plants around him shine like jewels. He floated lightly, his feet almost touching the ground, while a gentle breeze caressed his face and swayed his long black hair. As he landed, the fresh aroma of herbs filled his nostrils, bringing with it a sense of peace and fulfillment. The villagers, upon seeing his majestic figure, rushed toward him, their faces lit up with hope. "Oh, great Shennong!" cried an elder, his voice trembling with reverence. "Come teach us the art of agriculture." Shennong smiled, his eyes sparkling with wisdom. "My children, it is not only agriculture, but also medicine and respect for the land that are the keys to prosperity. Through cultivation, we will find balance and harmony." The villagers gathered around him, their eyes fixed on him, absorbing every word. "How can we properly cultivate the land?" asked a young woman, a glimmer of curiosity in her eyes. "First, we need to understand nature," Shennong replied, gesturing to the fertile soil before them. "The earth must be treated with love and care. Each plant has its own essence and requires special attention." He knelt down, placing his hand on the soil and demonstrating how to feel its vitality. "Feel the energy of the earth, and it will reveal what it needs." The villagers exchanged admiring glances, realizing they were in the presence of an extraordinary being. As Shennong spoke, his presence seemed to illuminate the atmosphere, dispelling any shadow of doubt that might linger in their hearts. But as the teachings flowed, a distant shadow loomed over the field. Inue, the goddess of darkness, watched with a cold gaze, her malevolent intentions taking shape behind a shroud of darkness. She bit her lips, a cruel smile forming. "This man brings too much light to the world. It is time to restore balance. In my way." In the field, Shennong continued to speak, unaware of the danger approaching. "The harvest to come will be abundant, but remember, you must care for the cycle of life to avoid breaking it. Respect the earth, and it will reward you." And so, while the light shone brightly, the darkness prepared to act, promising twists that would change the fate of all. The sun slowly hid behind the mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple as Shennong walked through the dense forest. His eyes were fixed on a plant with vibrant leaves and bright flowers. He knelt down, delicately touching the petals and feeling the pulsating energy emanating from it. "It seems you hold deep secrets," he murmured in awe. He knew the plant was rare and, at the same time, powerful. As he prepared a small container to collect some leaves, a strange sensation enveloped him. He was not alone. The atmosphere around him shifted, and Shennong lifted his head, noticing shadowy figures moving among the trees. They were grotesque creatures, with gleaming eyes and sharp claws, watching him with expressions of hatred. One of the beings, taller than the others, advanced, its voice echoing like a sinister whisper. "You should not be here, Emperor of Agriculture. Your knowledge will not be tolerated." "I do not fear you," Shennong replied, his voice steady. "The light I bring is stronger than any shadow you can cast." The creatures began to move toward him, but before they could attack, a familiar figure approached. It was Lan, the villager who always admired Shennong's work. "Emperor, I heard rumors that your magic could heal diseases. My family is suffering from something terrible," she exclaimed, concern clear on her face. "Calm down, Lan. Together, we will find the cure," Shennong reassured her, still keeping his eyes on the approaching creatures. "First, we need the plan I just found. It might be the key to saving your family." But before they could act, the dark beings attacked, charging toward them with uncontrolled fury. Shennong, with his wisdom and skills, prepared for battle. "Lan, stay behind me. I will protect you," he shouted, positioning himself between the creatures and the villager. He began to invoke the powers of nature around him, causing roots and branches to rise from the ground, creating barriers to block the attacks. The dark beings roared, trying to break through his defenses, but Shennong knew he had to hold on. "We cannot give up now. Light and hope must prevail," he declared, his determination growing. Lan looked at him in admiration. You are truly a hero, Shennong. I feel that we can win this together. Her trust and courage fueled Shennong's strength, who knew that the battle was just beginning. The field, once sunlit, now exuded a heavy air after the fight. Shennong, panting and sweaty, looked at the shadowy creatures lying defeated around him. However, his heart was not light. Beside him, Lan writhed on the ground, pain etched on her face. He quickly crouched down, holding her injured hand. Lan, please hang in there. I will heal you, he said, his voice trembling yet determined. Shennong, she stammered, her gaze lost in despair. The wound on her arm throbbed, and he could see the darkness left behind by the creatures gathering around her. Focusing, Shennong closed his eyes and summoned his abilities. The plants around him began to vibrate, responding to his call. He murmured healing words, and the herbs rose up, forming a green cloak over Lan. The soft glow of energy emanating from him mingled with the aroma of freshly cultivated earth. Go, my strength, heal her, he whispered. A gentle light enveloped Lan, but when he opened his eyes, her expression hadn't changed. Shennong, you're losing strength. I can't let you sacrifice yourself for me, she pleaded, desperation growing in her voice. There's no choice, Lan. I can't lose you. You are the hope this people needs, he replied, even though he felt energy slipping through his fingers like fine sand. The wound on Lan began to heal, but he could sense his powers waning. At that moment, the goddess of darkness, Yue, appeared before them like a menacing shadow. Her eyes shone like stars in a dark sky. Do you really think you can protect mortals, Shennong? Spreading light in a world that belongs to darkness. Her voice reverberated, cold and full of disdain. You don't understand, Yue. Light and darkness can coexist, but you refuse to see it, Shennong replied, rising up, determination renewed in his gaze. Coexist? No, my dear. If you do not join me, you will become a mere echo in a forgotten world, she declared, a cruel smile dancing on her lips. Shennong then decided it was time to confront her once and for all. I challenge you, Yue. If I lose, I will accept your fate. But if I win, you will leave the mortals in peace. She laughed, her laughter echoing like thunder. Very well, Shennong. I accept your challenge. Prepare for the darkness that is to come. And with that, the atmosphere around them grew heavy, as if the very air were bracing for a storm. With Lan slowly recovering in the background, Shennong felt the true battle was about to begin. He would not fight only for himself, but for all those who depended on him. The field of flowers, once filled with vibrant colors and sweet aromas, had now become a battlefield. The petals stirred as if sensing the tension in the air, while Shennong and Yue faced each other, ready for confrontation. The Emperor of Agriculture, with his majestic presence, summoned the plants around him, making them grow into green barriers that defied the darkness. Light will always find a way, Yue, he declared, his voice resonating like soft thunder. Yue smiled, her eyes glinting with icy fear. Do you really believe that plants can oppose me? Darkness is not just a cloak. It is the essence of what you fear. With a gesture of her hands, she summoned shadows that twisted and coiled, forming grotesque creatures that advanced toward Shennong. Plants, unite with me, shouted Shennong, and the flowers around him began to pulse, gaining life of their own. They intertwined, creating deep roots and sharp thorns like spears. Together, we can drive away the darkness. The plants responded to his will, launching themselves in defense against the shadowy monsters. During the battle, an unexpected revelation occurred. The plants were conscious, feeling their fears and hopes. Shennong, we stand with you, whispered the flowers, their voices soft as the wind. He smiled, feeling a surge of vital energy flow through him. Then let's fight. His determination strengthened, and he used his abilities to orchestrate a coordinated attack. The field lit up with a spectacle of color and light as the plants faced the shadows, creating a magnificent contrast. However, Yue would not be easily shaken. You think you can defeat me with flowers? She raised a dark artifact, a black crystal pulsing with malignant energy. This artifact can end you, Shennong. It won't be that easy, shouted Shennong, quickly dodging an attack that nearly struck him, the artifact emitting a wave of devastating energy. He concentrated, thinking about how he could use his own darkness against her. If you want to destroy me, you'll have to reach me first. With a swift movement, he made the ground tremble, creating a wall of plants that absorbed the energy of her attack. You may be powerful, Ingwe, but nature will always find a way to regenerate. Each blow she struck was met with an increasing resistance from the plants, which grew more resilient. Ingwe, realizing her method of attack was failing, decided to change tactics. So, you prefer to play with plants? Very well. She cast a dark spell, and the shadows began to twist and morph into increasingly threatening shapes. But Shennong, now in tune with the plants, felt the need to unite with them for a single purpose. Together, we are unbreakable, he shouted, and the plants rose even higher, forming a barrier that reflected the sunlight. The field shone brightly, and for a moment, the darkness hesitated. Shennong realized that the battle might not only be physical, but also a struggle for Ingwe's soul. You don't have to live in darkness. Light can heal if you let it. Shennong's words echoed in the air, and he sensed a crack beginning to form in Ingwe's determination. She looked at him, the shadow on her face fading for an instant. You don't understand, Shennong. The darkness is a part of me. Then let's transform that part into something new. Together, we can find balance, he insisted, his voice filled with hope. The battle was now more than just a duel. It was a quest for redemption, a plea for unity in a world divided between light and darkness. The clash between Shennong and Ingwe reached its peak, and the air was charged with energy and tension. Light and darkness intertwined in a terrifying spectacle, and Shennong, with his heart racing, knew that his fate and that of mortals hung by a thread. He faced the goddess of darkness, his eyes reflecting the determination he felt in his essence. Ingwe, you don't understand the true strength that lies in harmony. Light cannot exist without darkness, and vice versa. It's time for us to unite our powers, he declared, his voice firm, though faint. Ingwe, with a sarcastic smile, replied, Do you really think you can convince me to accept the light? You, who brought hope to humans, your sacrifice will be in vain. Shennong, with a gesture of her hands, she summoned shadows that rose like serpents toward the Emperor of Agriculture. But Shennong, in a moment of clarity, understood that the only way to defeat Ingwe was to embrace the duality that they both represented. If necessary, I will sacrifice my own life force to create something new, something that unites light and darkness. He positioned himself, closing his eyes and concentrating, allowing the darkness to touch him. Ingwe launched her attack, and Shennong, in an act of courage, let her energy strike him. The impact was brutal. He felt his life force draining away, but at the same time, he channeled that energy into a new plant, one that symbolized the harmony between opposites. Roots sprouted from the ground, blossoming in vibrant colors, as a radiant glow expanded around him. Looking wet, Shennong shouted, his voice echoing with newfound hope. This plan is the answer. With it, we can coexist. The glow of the new creation surrounded Ingwe, and the goddess, surprised, saw her shadows being dissolved by the light. In a final effort, Shennong used the energy of the plant to trap Ingwe in a bubble of light, a cycle of rehabilitation that temporarily sealed her away. You will have the chance to redeem yourself, he murmured, his voice weakening as the power of the new plant began to wane. The villagers who had witnessed that magical and terrifying scene ran toward Shennong, who was collapsing to his knees, exhausted and gravely injured. Yet, there was a glimmer of hope in his eyes. The struggle was not in vain, he whispered before fainting, knowing that his sacrifice had saved Lon and all those he loved. As the sun set on the horizon, painting the sky orange and pink, Shennong lay beneath the shade of a leafy tree, his body weakened from the battle. The villagers, who once needed his guidance, now gathered around him with determination etched on their faces. They had witnessed his sacrifice, and inspired by his bravery, decided to cultivate the new plant he had created. "Come on, friends. This plant can save us and heal our wounds," exclaimed one of the villagers, a young man named Wei, his eyes shining with hope. "We must spread its teachings and honor what he has done for us. Yes, we must work together, just as he did," replied another villager, May, as she began to prepare the soil for cultivation. Everyone's hands were busy, but their hearts were united in one purpose. Shennong watched the scene, a mix of pain and joy filling his being. He felt that, even in his weakened state, his essence was spreading among those he loved. "You are doing a wonderful job," he murmured with difficulty, his voice weak yet filled with emotion. "The light igniting within you is stronger than any shadow." As the villagers worked, something extraordinary began to happen. The new plant, with its vibrant leaves and radiant flowers, seemed to grow at an astonishing rate. Shennong realized that his connection with nature was even stronger and that this new agriculture could offer not just food, but also healing. He smiled, understanding that his legacy would live on through them. However, the calm was interrupted when Lan approached him, her expression serious. "Shennong, there's something I need to tell you," she said, her eyes reflecting a mix of fear and determination. "I am the reincarnation of Inue." The world around them seemed to freeze. The villagers stopped working, and silence filled the air. "What do you mean by that?" Shennong questioned, his voice laced with disbelief. "I am no longer the goddess of darkness," Lan replied, her tone soft. "The battle you fought purified me. I want to use my powers to promote peace, not destruction." "You can be whatever you choose, Lan," Shennong said, feeling her energy pulsate around him. "If you wish to forge a new path, we can do it together. Light and darkness do not have to be rivals. We can coexist." The villagers, still in shock, began to murmur among themselves. The idea that the reincarnation of Inue, the very essence of darkness, could unite with Shennong, the Emperor of Light, seemed a distant dream. But the determination in Lan's voice brought hope. "Let's work together to cultivate not just the land, but also harmony between our worlds," proposed Shennong, now feeling a new vitality. "Unity can lead us to a better future." And so, under the gentle light of dusk, the villagers and their two leaders began to dream of a world where light and darkness would coexist in balance, writing a new chapter in their history.